Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these rare Jefferson nickel that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them. You're lucky if you have one of these, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving into a classic piece of American change that just might be worth a fortune hiding in your pocket, your piggy bank, or even a forgotten jar in your kitchen drawer. That's right, we're talking about the 1964 Jefferson nickel from the United States. It's one of the most commonly seen coins out there, or is it? Because today, we're uncovering the truth about this seemingly ordinary 5-cent piece, and how some versions of this coin can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. Let's get into it. Back in 1964, the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels. It was a time of high coin demand due to a nationwide coin shortage, and the Mint was cranking them out in both Philadelphia and Denver. Because of this, the 1964 Jefferson nickel is one of the most widely circulated coins in American history. You've probably handled dozens of them yourself without giving them a second thought, but here's the twist: not all 1964 nickels are created equal. While most of these coins are still only worth their face value, just 5 cents, a small number of them were struck with such rare errors or unique characteristics that their value shoots through the roof. Collectors all over the world are constantly on the hunt for these specific varieties. Why? Because some of them are incredibly rare, and when rarity meets demand in the coin world, prices can go sky high. Now, let's talk about the secret sauce behind these valuable nickels, the minting errors and special varieties that make them true treasures. First up, we have full steps nickels. On the reverse side of the coin, at the bottom of Monticello, you'll find a set of steps. On most circulated coins, these steps are worn down and blurry. But if your coin has sharply defined and complete steps, known as full steps, it's a sign the coin was struck with incredible precision. These full steps nickels are far more valuable, especially if they've never been used in circulation. Next, let's talk about mint errors. These are the real jackpot. We're talking about things like double dies, where the coin's design appears to be doubled due to a mishap at the mint. There are also off-center strikes, die clashes, and planchet errors. These mistakes, which happened during the manufacturing process, created coins that are literally one of a kind. Now imagine combining a rare mint error with a coin in uncirculated or proof-like condition. That's where things get truly exciting. There are even rumors in the coin community, whispers of 1964 Special Mint Set, SMS, nickels that were struck with exceptional quality, likely for internal mint use or experimentation. Only a few of these are known to exist, and their surfaces look completely different, almost like proof coins, but without the official label. These are ultra-rare and have sparked intense bidding wars among collectors. So why does this matter to you? Because even though the 1964 Jefferson nickel was minted in huge numbers, the right combination of condition, rarity, and error can turn this 5-cent piece into a valuable collector's item. And if you're lucky enough to have one of those rare varieties, especially with a full steps designation or a verified mint error, you could be sitting on a coin that's worth far, far more than its face value. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One of the rarest known 1964 Jefferson nickels, featuring the elusive full steps and graded at a top-tier mint state level, once sold at auction for an incredible $80,000. Yes, you heard that right. A coin originally worth just 5 cents changed hands for $80,000. That's the power of rarity, history, and collector demand all rolled into one small, shining coin. So before you toss that old nickel aside or use it in a vending machine, take a closer look. You just might be holding something extraordinary. Top 2, we're diving into a coin that's often overlooked, yet one special version of it has shocked the coin world with its jaw-dropping value. Yes, we're talking about the 1984 Jefferson nickel from the United States of America. Just 5 cents in face value, but don't be fooled. This seemingly ordinary coin could be worth a fortune, and today, we're going to tell you exactly what to look for, and why this coin is turning heads in the collecting world. Let's set the stage. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938, proudly displaying the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the front, and Monticello, his historic home, on the back. Over the years, billions of these coins have been produced, and most of them are still only worth 5 cents. But once in a while, a few coins slip through the cracks, minted with rare errors, anomalies, or produced in such perfect condition that they become incredibly valuable, and that brings us to the year 1984. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about the 1984 Jefferson nickel? After all, it wasn't a special anniversary year, and the coin didn't receive any major redesigns. But that's the beauty of this story. Sometimes, it's the subtle, unexpected details that make all the difference. In 1984, the mint struck hundreds of millions of nickels, mainly from Philadelphia and Denver. Most of these coins were circulated heavily, tossed around in pockets, wallets, and cash registers across the country. But among them, a few rare gems were born. Coins that were struck with unusual errors or in exceptionally high quality, making them worth far more than their face value. One of the most well-known and valuable errors associated with the 1984 Jefferson nickel is the double die. This is a type of minting error that happens when the coin's design is stamped more than once, slightly off-center, creating a ghost-like doubling effect, especially noticeable in the lettering and numbers. In the case of the 1984 nickel, some coins were struck with a dramatic doubling on the words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," and sometimes even on Jefferson's eye or collar. These are incredibly collectible because they were never supposed to exist, and the sharper the doubling, the more valuable the coin. Another feature that collectors crave is the full steps designation. This refers to the steps at the bottom of Monticello on the reverse of the coin. On most coins, these steps appear flat or worn due to poor striking or circulation. But if your coin shows 5 or 6 clearly defined, sharp steps, with no major marks or flattening, it's considered full steps. And that's a huge deal. Full steps nickels are a collector's dream, because they reflect an unusually crisp strike that survived the test of time. Now combine that with a mint error like a double die, or an uncirculated condition, what we call MS, mint state, grades, and you've got something truly special. There are even rare coins struck slightly off-center, or struck on the wrong planchet, a blank meant for a different coin. These minting anomalies are incredibly rare, and when they're discovered, they can fetch massive prices at auction. Here's where it gets even more exciting, because while the average 1984 Jefferson nickel might only be worth a few cents, some rare examples have sold for thousands, even without an error, just because they were preserved in perfect condition. And in one stunning case, a 1984 Jefferson nickel with near-perfect features, a full steps designation, and remarkable eye appeal, sold for an astonishing amount. So how much was it worth? One of the most valuable known examples of the 1984 Jefferson nickel, graded at a top-tier level, with pristine surfaces and full striking detail, sold at auction for $73,000. That's right. A 5-cent coin, that's sold for $73,000. Imagine holding that in your hand. Imagine it hiding in your change jar, your grandparents' collection, or inside a forgotten roll of nickels. It happens. People have found valuable coins in the most unexpected places, and that's why collectors are always on the lookout. So what can you do? Start by checking your coins. Look closely at any 1984 Jefferson nickels you come across. Grab a magnifying glass, examine the lettering, inspect Monticello's steps, and look for any doubling or striking errors. If the coin looks unusually sharp and clean, especially if it's uncirculated or from an original bank roll, you might be holding something special. Also, consider getting high-potential coins graded by a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. The right grade can turn a good coin into a great investment, and most importantly, don't underestimate what's hiding in plain sight. Because even the most ordinary-looking coin could end up being the rare prize collectors have been searching for. Top 3. We're unlocking the secrets behind one of the most overlooked coins in American pocket change, the 1972 Jefferson nickel. It might look like an ordinary 5-cent coin, but don't be fooled. Some versions of this coin are anything but ordinary, and one of them sold for a price that might just blow your mind. So sit back, grab your coin jar, and listen carefully, because what you learn today might just turn that loose change into a life-changing discovery. Let's take a journey back to 1972. America was in the midst of cultural change, space exploration was in full swing, and inflation was creeping in. During this time, the U.S. Mint was continuing the long-running production of the Jefferson nickel, a coin first introduced in 1938 to honor one of the nation's founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson. On the obverse, or front of the coin, you'll find Jefferson's familiar profile, along with the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word "Liberty," followed by the year, 1972. On the reverse side is Monticello, Jefferson's iconic estate, framed by the inscriptions, E Pluribus Unum, United States of America, and of course, 5 cents. At first glance, it's a basic coin. But coin collectors know better. The 1972 Jefferson nickel may seem like just another piece of change, but hidden among the hundreds of millions produced that year are a few rare examples that are extraordinarily valuable. Why? Because of a combination of minting errors, strike quality, and preserved condition that make them incredibly desirable. Let's talk about those errors. Point 1. Of the most sought-after features in any Jefferson nickel is something called a double die. This occurs when the die that strikes the coin receives a misalignment during manufacturing, causing a doubled image to appear, most noticeably in the lettering or numbers. In some rare 1972 nickels, this doubling can be seen in the words, "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even the date itself. These aren't just small misprints, they're visible to the naked eye in many cases, and that's exactly what makes them so collectible. But that's not all. There are also known off-center strikes, where the coin is misaligned during production, leading to a crescent-shaped cut-off image. These coins are instantly eye-catching and rare. Some were struck on the wrong type of metal blanks, called planchet errors, which makes them even more valuable due to their one-of-a-kind nature. Then, there's the collector's holy grail, full steps nickels. That if you flip the coin over and look at Monticello, you'll notice the steps at the front of the building. Most nickels, especially those that have been in circulation, show little or no detail in these steps. But a full steps designation means the coin was struck so perfectly that you can see 5 or 6 complete steps, crisp and uninterrupted. Now, full steps Jefferson nickels from 1972 are incredibly rare. Why? Because that year, the strike quality from the U.S. Mint wasn't consistent. Many dies were worn out or poorly maintained, so finding a coin with that much detail, still preserved after all these years, is a serious challenge. And when you combine a full steps designation with an error or top-tier condition, the value skyrockets. Let's talk about condition for a moment. The grading scale for coins ranges from poor, barely recognizable, all the way up to mint state 70, which is a flawless coin. Even a 1972 nickel in MS-65 condition, meaning near perfect, with only minor flaws, can be worth far more than its face value. But if you find one with a mint error or full steps, in pristine condition, and graded by a respected company like PCGS or NGC, well, that's where the magic happens. So, you might be wondering, what's the most one of these coins has ever sold for? Get ready for it, because one exceptionally rare 1972 Jefferson nickel, featuring a high mint state grade and full steps detail, with a nearly flawless strike, sold at auction for an incredible $78,000. Yes, you heard that right. $78,000 for a 5-cent coin. That's the kind of discovery that gets collectors fired up and searching through their coin rolls day and night. These valuable coins don't just sit in museums, they're out there, waiting to be found. Maybe even in your house right now. So here's your mission: check your change. Go through your old coin jars, drawers, and inherited collections. Look for 1972 nickels. Examine them closely, especially for clear steps on Monticello, signs of doubling in the text, off-center designs, or anything unusual. If you find something that looks promising, get it evaluated professionally. You never know, you might just be holding the next high-value coin. And if you love stories like this, rare coins, hidden treasures, and the excitement of turning small finds into big fortunes, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon so you never miss an episode. We've got more amazing coin discoveries coming your way, and who knows, one of them might be sitting right in your pocket. Top 4. We're diving deep into the world of American coinage to explore a small piece of metal with a story far bigger than its face value. Yes, we're talking about the Jefferson nickel from 1975. Don't let its humble 5-cent label fool you. This coin could be hiding in plain sight, and it might just be worth a jaw-dropping fortune. So if you're someone who enjoys the thrill of rare finds, hidden errors, and coin history that connects you to a different time, stay tuned. You'll want to hear every second of this, because at the end of this video, we'll reveal exactly how much one of these nickels is worth, and trust me, it's not 5 cents anymore. Let's take a trip back to 1975. The United States was still feeling the ripples of the Vietnam War, gas prices were rising, and the country was adjusting to a new era of economic and political change. And in your pocket, jingling among other coins, you might have had one of the most iconic and enduring pieces of U.S. currency, the Jefferson nickel. First introduced in 1938, the Jefferson nickel has been a consistent part of American coinage. But not all nickels are created equal. The 1975 version carries unique details that make it stand out in the eyes of collectors today. At first glance, it may look just like any other coin, but for those who know what to look for, this little piece of copper-nickel alloy could be a treasure. The obverse side features a detailed portrait of Thomas Jefferson, 3rd President of the United States and author of the Declaration of Independence. It's a proud, classical profile that has remained largely unchanged for decades. But the real fascination lies in what can't always be seen immediately: the subtleties in the strike, the clarity of the lettering, and yes, the potential errors that make certain versions of this coin worth far more than anyone could imagine. Flip it over and you'll see Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, centered with precision on the reverse. The architecture, the balance, the lines, collectors study these features closely, because even the tiniest irregularity can be a sign of a rare minting mistake. And that's where things get interesting. In the world of coin collecting, it's not just about age, it's about condition, rarity, and errors. And the 1975 Jefferson nickel has been found with some very rare and unusual minting mistakes that have made them highly sought after collectibles. So what kinds of errors are we talking about? Some of the most valuable 1975 Jefferson nickels include examples with double dies, where the images and letters appear slightly double due to a misalignment during the striking process. These can be spotted by carefully examining the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," on the obverse. If they look blurry or shadowed, you might just be holding something rare. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin wasn't perfectly aligned when it was pressed, leaving part of the design off the edge. These can vary in value, depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. A minor one might be interesting, but a 50% off-center strike? That's something serious collectors will pay big money for. Then we have die cracks and cuds, imperfections in the minting dies that result in raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin. These aren't design flaws, they're mint-made uniqueness, and each one tells a story of that coin's birth on the factory floor. And finally, there's the ultra-rare full steps variety. Now this is where real collectors lean in. A full steps 1975 Jefferson nickel means the steps on Monticello are fully visible, without any wear or blur. Perfect clarity. To find a 1975 nickel with full steps and 0 circulation marks, that's like finding a unicorn in your spare change. Now imagine one of these, flawless, mint condition, with a rare error, being auctioned to the highest bidder. That's where things get jaw-dropping. Because one of these 1975 Jefferson nickels, with the right error, in pristine condition, once sold for $71,000, yes, you heard that right. $71,000, all from a 5-cent coin. So now the real question is, have you checked your coin jar lately? That handful of nickels might be more than just pocket change. You might be sitting on a coin worth more than a luxury car, or even more than your college tuition. Collectors, if you find a 1975 Jefferson nickel in your collection, take a good look at it. Examine the steps, the letters, the edges. Use a magnifying glass. You never know what hidden treasure you might have. It's these small details, these rare quirks in the minting process, that transform an ordinary coin into a legendary one. And for those just getting into coin collecting, this is why we love it. It's not just about the money, it's about history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovering something that's been hiding in plain sight for decades. Top 5, we're shining the spotlight on the 1985 Jefferson nickel, a 5-cent coin that might just be worth a fortune. Yes, we said 1985. Not ancient, not colonial, not silver, not gold, just a regular-looking nickel that you might find sitting at the bottom of a drawer or hiding in your change from the grocery store. But don't let its ordinary appearance fool you. Some of these nickels are anything but ordinary. Let's start with a little background. The Jefferson nickel has been part of U.S. coinage since 1938. Named after Thomas Jefferson, this coin has been through World War II, the moon landing, the Cold War, and every major event since. And although billions of them have been minted, not all are created equal. The 1985 edition might seem like just another coin, but here's the secret: certain versions of this coin, under just the right conditions, have become incredibly rare and valuable. But what makes a coin from 1985, a year that saw Ronald Reagan in office, the launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System, and the peak of cassette tapes, so special? It all comes down to minting errors, condition, and rarity. Now pay close attention, because this is where it gets really interesting for collectors and coin lovers. You see, not every 1985 Jefferson nickel is valuable. But a small number of them were struck with minting mistakes that make them incredibly rare. These are called error coins, and they're the holy grail for coin hunters. Some of the most valuable versions of the 1985 Jefferson nickel include double die errors, where the design elements appear slightly doubled, especially noticeable in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." When these letters have a shadow-like effect or look slightly shifted, you're likely looking at a true error strike. Then there are off-center strikes, where the coin was improperly positioned during minting. These can result in a coin where part of the design is literally missing, cut off by the edge of the coin. The more dramatic the error, the more desirable the coin becomes. Another collector favorite? Full steps nickels. The steps on the Monticello building on the reverse side of the coin must be clearly defined, with 5 or 6 complete, uninterrupted steps visible. These full steps nickels are incredibly difficult to find from 1985, especially in mint state condition, making them especially valuable in today's market. And let's not forget about die cracks, planchet errors, and even wrong metal strikes. Some 1985 nickels have been found struck on the wrong type of metal blank, a rare and valuable mistake that turns a 5-cent coin into a collector's dream. But of course, rarity is only part of the equation. The condition of the coin matters just as much. Coins are graded based on their state of preservation, from circulated and worn to absolutely flawless. A coin in mint state condition, meaning no scratches, no marks, and no wear, is far more valuable than one that's been rattling around in people's pockets for decades. Now, imagine this: a 1985 Jefferson nickel, with a rare double die error, full steps on the Monticello, and in pristine mint state condition, untouched, uncirculated, a flawless example of a rare mistake. When something like this appears at auction, collectors go wild, and one of these rare nickels, with the perfect combination of error and condition, has stunned the collecting world by selling for $65,000. Yes, you heard that right. A 5-cent coin from 1985 sold for $65,000. So the next time you get change from a store, don't just toss that nickel aside. Take a closer look. You could be holding a piece of American history. A mistake that turned into a masterpiece. A tiny treasure worth far more than it appears. Collectors, enthusiasts, and casual coin lovers, this is why we do it. It's not just about the money. It's about the story behind the coin. It's about the hunt, the history, the hidden gems that are waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed today's dive into the surprising world of the 1985 Jefferson nickel, make sure you subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that bell so you never miss a future coin discovery. And if you've ever found a strange or rare nickel, tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. Top 6. We're going deep into the story of the 1971 Jefferson nickel, an everyday coin with an extraordinary twist. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or just someone who enjoys the idea that treasure might be hiding in plain sight, you'll want to pay close attention, because this is the kind of coin that turns a casual collector into a dedicated treasure hunter. Let's rewind to the year 1971. The world was shifting. Walt Disney World had just opened, Intel released the first microprocessor, and the US was in the midst of both political tension and cultural transformation. And somewhere in all of that, the United States Mint was producing millions of nickels with the familiar face of Thomas Jefferson on the front and the stately Monticello on the back. The design hadn't changed. But the difference, the hidden story, was in the details. You see, not all 1971 nickels are created equal. While most were struck normally and released into everyday circulation, a handful were created with errors and imperfections that turned them into something else entirely, something collectors dream about. Let's talk about what makes a Jefferson nickel from 1971 valuable. First, it's all about minting errors. Mistakes that happen during production, often unintentional, always rare. These aren't flaws in the negative sense. To a collector, they're gold. Literal value hidden in what appears to be a common coin. Some 1971 nickels have been found with double die obverse errors, where parts of the design, usually the date or inscriptions, appear doubled. If the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust" look shadowed or like they've been stamped twice, you may have stumbled onto something incredible. Then there are off-center strikes, coins that were improperly aligned during minting, causing the design to be pushed to one side. Some of these errors can be subtle, but others are so dramatic that part of the design is completely missing. And the more dramatic, the more collectors want it. Another major factor is the full steps variety. On the reverse side, Jefferson's home, Monticello, is shown with steps leading up to it. A truly valuable coin will have these steps completely visible and sharply struck. Most coins from 1971 didn't strike clearly enough to show all 5 or 6 lines. So if you find a nickel from this year with full, uninterrupted steps, congratulations, you found something very few people ever will. There are even rumors in the collector community about wrong planchet errors, coins that were mistakenly struck on metal blanks intended for other denominations. These are extremely rare, but they do exist. And when they're confirmed, they go for top dollar. But here's where the magic really happens: condition. Even if you have a rare error, the value skyrockets when the coin is in mint state. That means no scratches, no wear, no circulation damage. A coin that looks as crisp and clean as the day it left the mint over 50 years ago. Combine that kind of condition with a dramatic error, and suddenly you've got a coin that serious collectors will fight for. Now, let's talk about the kind of fight we're talking about. Point 1 of these rare 1971 Jefferson nickels, flawless, with a minting error and full steps, recently caused a stir in the auction world. Bidding was fierce. Collectors from across the country, and even some international buyers, competed to add this rare gem to their collections, and when the final hammer dropped, that single 5-cent coin sold for an astonishing $73,000. Yes, you heard that right. $73,000, for a coin you might have ignored. For a nickel that could be sitting in your coin jar, waiting to be discovered. This is why collectors are so passionate. This is why we dig through rolls of coins, study mint marks, and keep magnifying glasses close at hand. Because it's not just about metal. It's about history, rarity, and the thrill of the hunt. So, if you've got a handful of old nickels lying around, especially from the year 1971, it's time to take a closer look. You never know what you might have. That everyday coin might be your once-in-a-lifetime find. Top 7 and last coin, we're diving into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins from the United States, the 1987 5-cent coin, also known as the 1987 Jefferson nickel. What if I told you that this seemingly ordinary nickel could be worth an eye-popping $61,000? Yes, you heard that right. So buckle up, because this story is packed with mystery, rarity, and a treasure that could be hiding in your pocket change. Let's start with the basics. The 1987 nickel features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse side, a design that's been iconic for decades. On the reverse, you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's historic Virginia home, perfectly capturing a piece of American heritage. But what makes this particular 1987 nickel so incredibly special isn't the design itself. It's a rare minting error that has turned a common coin into one of the most sought-after collectibles for coin lovers worldwide. Here's where things get exciting. During the production process at the Denver Mint, a very small number of these nickels were struck on an off-metal planchet. Instead of the usual copper-nickel alloy, these coins were accidentally struck on a pure copper planchet. This kind of mistake is extremely rare and highly prized because it creates a coin that looks and feels different from every other nickel in circulation. Collectors refer to these as copper error nickels, and they have a unique reddish color, unlike the typical silvery nickel finish. The copper error significantly increases the coin's value because it's a 1 in a million anomaly that only a lucky few have ever come across. To spot one, you need to look closely at the color and weight. Copper nickels are lighter and have that unmistakable reddish hue. What's truly fascinating about the 1987 copper error nickel is the story it tells about the minting process. It's a snapshot of a rare mistake that slipped through quality control, making it a prized gem in any collection. The combination of rarity, uniqueness, and the allure of an error coin is what drives collectors wild and drives the price sky high. Now, listen closely, because this is the moment every coin enthusiast dreams of. If you own or find a 1987 5-cent coin struck on a copper planchet, in pristine condition, no less, it could be worth an astounding $61,000. Imagine turning an everyday coin into a small fortune, simply because of a rare minting quirk. So next time you're digging through your change, take a moment to examine those nickels carefully. You might just be holding a treasure that could change your life. If you found this video fascinating and want to uncover more rare coin stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a hidden gem. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting, fellow collectors.